Marshelle.
Hi, Bridget. This episode,
We're going to talk about
what are the things that are going on in our lives?
it's kind of like maybe this might be like,
Yeah, sorta, kinda.
life lesson.
hi.
Are we doing this?
Oh, yeah.
Are we
was
starting
doing
with
the
a little shimmy? Hi. How's it going?
Really good. How are you?
Good.
Oh,
I'm good.
rocking.
You're very swinging on your
I
chair.
know, I was
That's okay.
swinging in the chair. Nobody.
People are loving it.
People aren't watching. Mm-hmm.
People are loving the chair.
I'm Marshelle.
I'm Bridget.
This is Yeah, Sorta Kinda.
We're up to episode 25. And this episode is so fun. This is a fun one. This is also fun, not just because the topic is about like coincidences. Serendipity.
Deja vu.
Synchronicity.
Fate.
Free will. Fate. All those
Prophetic
fun
dreams.
things. All those kind of unprovable things, but that most everybody has experienced, right?
Yes.
But we put feelers out there on the social, and you guys responded in kind about your thoughts on these topics and gave us some very interesting tidbits and stories that we will be sharing throughout the episode.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun to include
Stay
you guys.
tuned. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Stay tuned.
Yes.
Till right now.
Yeah. Don't
Right.
leave. That's right. Keep listening.
And if you have to go do something, come back.
Yeah, come back.
Mm-hmm.
Hit play.
'Cause if you don't, we'll know. We will know
find
if you don't.
Yeah.
So don't disappoint us.
Yeah, because, for fuck's sake.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Guess what, guys? We have
What?
some website updates. We thought
Oh,
it'd be
yeah.
fun to just kind of draw your attention to.
Yeah.
So we had fun doing it. We spent some time on
Yeah. We have a new About
expansion.
Us section on yeahsortakinda.com. So go check that out.
Please do.
Learn more about
it'll-
us.
It'll give you a little insight into more of our quirks.
Mm-hmm. You can join an email list. All that.
Yeah. What was that?
Hot Rod just went by.
How
You'll hear it.
serendipitous. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
emphasizing, yes.
on.
Grr, grr. Go check out that website. Grr.
Oh, yeah.
I like to pretend sometimes that loud noises that happen around in the world are like exclamation points to whatever is happening in that moment. I don't know if
You know
I've
what?
ever mentioned that in one of these podcasts, but that's how I like to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of ties into what we're talking about, so...
It does, because whenever you and I are having these kind of moments that inspired the show, where we were FaceTiming and we'd be talking about something, and we would have some kind of, one of us, could have been either of us, would say something really profound that like really clicked with the other, or but like, ooh, a loud car would go by, or a motorcycle would go by, or a car would backfire, or there'd be a thump because maybe somebody dropped something upstairs in either my place or her
Totally.
place.
You
And
know
we'd be like,
another way?
"Ooh."
Back when we were driving, because we don't do as much of that anymore, it could be lyrics of a song.
Yes.
It could be like, okay, this song is so apropos to what I've been working through or what I'm dealing with or the answer to a question I've been pondering or ties into a dream I had. Like, it's pretty interesting how much
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot, actually. And it's in, what is coincidence? Like,
Yeah.
how do people, that was actually the question that we'd put out there for everyone. How did you phrase it? Like, what is the...
I think I just said, what does coincidence mean to you or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then, so I actually looked up what all of these words mean. So that's going to be interesting.
I want to say something, too. It's so fascinating to me when you take something as abstract as deja vu or coincidence or any of these terms you want to use to call them. It seems that once they are in any way, shape, or form scientifically explained, it's like it's literally squashing the wonder out of it, right? Because you're like, oh, well, now I get it, and so now it doesn't seem so magical. I think that regardless of what you decide it means, that you can't deny that there's something significant about it. It lets you know it. It's like because it's so visceral when it happens, in whether or not I think it's Tommy who talks about it can be a positive. He said a positive or negative thing. I don't really I guess I can't think off the top of my head any of the necessarily like negative coincidences, but the ones that feel good, like that can be enough for you. You don't have to decide it means this or it means that or it means this. It could just be the feeling keeps you in wonder, you know?
You're talking about a negative. I actually, one popped in my mind right when you said that, like showing me that I should not be going down the road I was considering, that I was contemplating going down, but I ignored it, and boy, was it right. Hanging out with, I don't like to talk about this stuff normally, but this is a really good example. Yeah. Hanging out with this guy, this is way pre-Tommy, hanging out with some guy, and I was like, and he just was really persistent. I was like, I don't know. Like something in me was just like, this just doesn't, and then he like goes in for like this big hug. And I look over and I'm like, and I'm like looking over his shoulder and I was like, I'm kind of like, I guess, he's okay. I look over the shoulder and there's this big sign in someone's yard and it says no in big capital. I'm not kidding. N-O. And I literally started laughing. And he's like, what? And I'm like, nothing. But it was really funny to me.
Okay, so now I know what you mean when you say negative. It's almost like not everything is leading you towards like this great, beautiful moment. But that was still, weren't you still, like it made you laugh, right?
Oh, it totally made me laugh.
There's something about it that's like so delightful. Even when it's creepy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, even when it's creepy. But we've talked about it before. It's almost like a language that you have to learn in a way, or you don't even have to learn it if you just allow yourself to experience. And even if you're not really even allowing yourself, it's just going to keep happening, so you can decide for yourself if you're going to pay attention to it. But it's always a visceral reaction, to something. Like maybe you're having a moment. I have some, but let's go into something else. I mean, but I have one that I've talked about it once before, but it was definitely, I was having this heartfelt moment of questioning, should I ask?
You might as well say it now.
Yeah, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go
do
for
it.
So like, I was in St. Louis, and I was very successful in St. Louis, as we've talked about before, behind the scenes, and doing some in front of the scene thing. Somebody had pulled me out in front to do this scene in a movie. I was actually the line producer on it. And back in the day, St. Louis was really popular with film. So but I did this scene, and it was really fun. And I didn't pursue acting back then because it wasn't practical. Do you know what I mean? And growing up in the Midwest, that sort of thing. So I was on this walk with my mom, and we're walking through this really beautiful neighborhood, and I was like, man, and I was just really having this heartfelt moment. Couldn't have meant it more of like what should I do? I want to do it. Something keeps telling me I should act. I should go down this road, and be in front of the camera instead of behind. And right when I say that,
I mean, look at you.
Oh, thank you.
You're gorgeous.
Thank you.
Camera loves you.
Well, thank you. Vice versa.
Of course.
Vice versa, my dear. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We're bowing to each other. If you're just listening, doing that's our new thing.
Oh, they don't need to know. This is just between us and our viewers.
But anyway, so putting it out there. Oh my God, what should I do? And then my mom. I just felt it. And then I looked back down because I'd looked up at the sky, and I looked back down. I was walking with my mom, and automatically something caught my eye. Up ahead, there was this beautiful tree-lined street, and there was this little division in the middle of the road, like where you could fork off. This beautiful little park area, just a little triangle at that. Had a couple of trees and a little bench, and there's this purple book propped up against a tree. Like just propped up. And it's a good-sized book. And I was like, I noticed it, and we just keep walking. And I'm nearsighted, so it's hard for me to see some of this stuff. But I was like, that looks like it says acting. I was like, that can't. No. My mom and I start laughing. My mom's like, she can see. She's like, it says acting. I'm like, no, it doesn't. She's like, yeah, it does. It says acting. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So finally, I couldn't take it, so I ran over there to go look, and it says acting on it with my aunt's name. Somebody had my aunt's name written on the inside of it because I was going to return it to somebody. I'm like, maybe there's some kind of a thing. But it had my aunt's name. And I was like, wow. I was like, that's a sign. Do you know what I mean? And I did start pursuing TV and getting in front of the camera and acting. So I started as a result of, I trusted it. I believed in it. I think some other things that happened too, but that in particular, that was like really magical to me.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna jump into reading a couple of your guys' responses. Hold on. I got a little lipstick on my teeth there. All right, so Heather says, I go back and forth between the concept of it having no meaning and the idea that due to energetic frequencies, the law of attraction brings vibrations together, and also the concept that there may be things that truly are meant to be, a life plan, so to speak. All right, so there's one. Let's see. Jack says, something many people believe as a chance encounter, while others, like myself, believe it to be universal bumper cars.
I like that.
Jack, by the way, is literally a poet, so it makes sense to me. That's Jack. Jack. Makes sense to me that there would be like this poetic. Let's see. I like this one from Ryan because to me, I'm like, this seems very I appreciate the scientific simplicity of it. Mm-hmm. He says a confluence of events that seems statistically unlikely, but probably isn't. Like, I feel like that's a safe answer because it's like, yeah, they do seem statistically unlikely. Mm-hmm. But it stands out because it happened. Anyway.
Yeah. Let's read Adria's.
Go for it.
A coincidence is a term non-believers use to describe communication with the universe. I like that. I think it is. I think it is communication and it's choice. I think there is a destiny for people, but it's our free will if we're going to make it there. I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me. In this head, it makes a lot of sense.
I don't know if I have the words yet, like in terms of destiny or fate. But what I can speak on is free will. I think about choice a lot. A lot of what we do and how life unfolds for us boils down to choice. And I do think that I don't like to think of it in terms of so black and white where it's like there are right and wrong choices, but I do think there's these different paths you can go down.
Yeah.
And that sometimes this path is going to be way harder than this path ever would be, but they may end up converging into the same point. It's just what roundabout way did you take getting there,
Exactly.
Or you may miss it altogether,
I know. I do think I don't know if that makes sense, but I agree with you. I think we see that in a similar way.
You don't know if what makes sense.
If it's going to make sense to people, how we're describing that and how there's a lot of depth to that in some way. Not that people aren't, but I don't know. That just seems, I think you have to be ready to hear that. I really think that. Because I know I've heard people say things before in my life. And I'm like, doesn't make sense. But now, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because I think you do have to be in a place where you're willing and able to hear what someone is saying to you. We talk about that a lot. Let's read what some of the technical meanings are for some of these words.
Oh yeah, like literally like the Wikipedia kind of definitions. Okay,
because I found that kind of fun to look at. Do you want to start with déjà vu?
Go for it. Yeah, déjà vu.
This one's amazing.
Wait, let's real quick. Déjà vu to me is kind of like you're experiencing something in real conscious time for the first time that you've already on some level experienced before. You're familiar with it, whether that happened in a dream or at some point in time that you can't exactly put your finger on, but it's like there's this like echo of a felt experience that you become very heightenedly aware of as you're in your waking life, like having a moment. That's the best I know how to describe experiencing it.
For me, and then I'll read what it means. For me, it's always literally I had a dream of that moment. And I might even be aware the night that I'm having that dream, oh, this feels like a déjà vu, like in some weird level. And then I forget all about it.
This feels like to me, I would think this feels like a prophetic dream.
Yeah.
Right?
But then, you forget all about it. And it can be years ago. And then all of a sudden, and it can be the most mundane. I'm sitting here texting you, maybe, let's say, and I'm remembering.
It's very likely it happens a lot.
Yeah. But then it comes back to me, all of a sudden, this moment, this déjà vu moment. This is how I understand it to be. And it's so visceral and encompassing with senses. Like I'm remembering what I thought in that moment. Like I dreamt that. I dreamt what I was thinking in this very moment, what I was looking at in a peripheral, like in a way, and the smells, everything. It's crazy, and it can be really meaningful moments, or it can be just as simple as, like I said, or I'm on my computer, or I'm just closing the door, and all of a sudden, so that's always crazy to me. And I get those a lot. So now.
What does Wikipedia say?
Wikipedia says, this one's actually quite fun. Déjà vu is a French term that means literally already seen.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I actually like that. There's a couple little things here. Those who have experienced the feeling describe it as an overwhelming sense of familiarity with something that shouldn't seem familiar at all. It's a feeling that one has lived through the present situation before. That makes more sense to me. Mm-hmm. Now, some view in a paranormal context as precognition or prophecy. Modern science, of course, rejects that explanation and says that
Surprise.
Yeah, right. Shocking.
And I love science.
Yeah, I love science. I was a science major, so. But so everyone experiencing a déjà vu, you're actually having a temporal lobe epileptic moment. This experience is a neurological anomaly related to epileptic discharge in the brain, creating a strong sensation that an event or experience currently being experienced has already been experienced in the past. It could be a mini seizure in the temporal lobe, but it doesn't cause any other problems because it stops before it goes too far. So we're all epileptic. That's what, because I guarantee you, at least 60% of people out there.
This is what I was saying at the beginning. It's like you come up with a scientific explanation, and it's like really what you're trying to do is squash the wonder of it.
Yeah. Because it's like what episode was that we were talking about near-death experience? One of the men I can't think of his name, but he said it's like science became the new God. And that's kind of what it does. It tries to take away that wonder and that sense of magic. And I'm sorry, life is a combo. That's all there's to it.
Also, I wouldn't rule out that there are completely measurable things happening in the brain.
Oh, yeah.
While you're having a déjà vu moment. That makes perfect sense to me. It's just the conclusion of saying, oh, well, this is like an epileptic seizure sounds a lot like they're just trying to imply, oh, it's completely meaningless. It's literally just your brain is doing this thing, and so you're having this experience. To me, I'm thinking more holistically, like you are having this experience that's affecting your whole body and mind and spirit and brain and everything. Of course, that would be measurable. So, but that doesn't rule out that it's more than just your brain.
Yeah, no.
Brains are great. Brains are amazing. Brains are fascinating. I'll never get over the brain. But the brain is not everything. Everything doesn't end exclusively at what the brain is doing.
No. I mean, I can't even go there. My mind's just shutting down on that. It's just like, what, really?
Brain.
Serendipity.
Wait. Before you move on that, I want to just read this one little part. This guy, Gary, said, "Deja vu freaks me the F out. I just had one the other day and immediately stopped what I was doing to take a breath. My dream from nights prior was suddenly unfolding in front of me, beat by beat. To me, it is always unnerving and not comforting, but I know it is real, whatever that actually means." There you
I agree,
go.
Gary.
Just wanted to add that in before I went into serendipity.
I agree, Gary. Okay. I'm with you. Picking up what you're throwing down. Okay. Serendipity. The occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. When an aptitude for making desirable discoveries by accident, good fortune, luck. What serendipity she got the first job she applied for.
Oh, so they're kind of thinking of it as a luck thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Which also does feel very like coincidence, which to me is like coincides perfectly.
Right.
Not like some crazy mystical thing necessarily, but more of like a syncing up of synchronicity. Yeah. Or serendipity. We're talking serendipity. Sorry. There's so many terms and they're very similar and end with
they're very
Ickety.
What's another E word? But they're very interchangeable, I think. I think they mean a lot of the same thing.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I would put déjà vu in its own category though, wouldn't you?
Oh, for
Déjà
sure.
vu
That's
is,
the only
like,
one.
very
That's the only
specific.
one that really stood out to me as like something very different. There's also that great movie Serendipity with John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale.
Gotta love it.
I love that movie.
I watched that movie a lot in my, I don't know. I just watched that movie a lot when I was younger at some point.
I watched that one a lot, and Someone Like You. Those two movies, that's with Hugh Jackman.
You had me watch that one, and I was like, this is cute.
Right. Those two movies would always give me a sense of hope if I was ever down. So, people, if you're down, watch those two movies.
Especially if you're down about love, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good love theme there.
That's what I mean. Yeah. It's hard. Love is hard. When you're, like, if you feel like it's on your heart.
When you don't have it.
Yeah, when you don't have it. Or you keep meeting other people. I'm telling you, I would much rather be alone than be in a relationship that's wrong.
Than be in a relationship with that wrong person, yeah.
Ugh. Or even dating sometimes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, the dating thing is, during a pandemic, is like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what are you even doing? Mm-hmm. But, you know, it's, I'm talking to someone that's very interesting. I'm super like, whoa, who are you? Where'd you come from? Okay. Curious. Anyway, I really want to hear this definition of serendipity.
Oh, I just read it.
Oh. Yeah, you did.
But I can read coincidence if you want.
Yeah. That's the one.
Oh, there's so much I could say. Coincidence. That's so cute. Like, you like him. All right.
Oh, that's not what that was.
Oh, but it's cute though. It's cute though.
Oh, but you're trying to make that moment about this guy, and it's not. Promise.
Coincidence. I don't care anymore. A remarkable concurrence of events or circumstances without apparent causal connection. Like the most. What?
Sounds
Right?
really dry.
I know. I'm like, what? That's coincidence?
Wait, well, okay.
Yeah, let's look at what some
Let's
other people
read
say.
a couple more of our friends. So, Danny says, a quinkadink is often the universe guiding you along your soul path. She calls it a quinkadink. David says, two paths that were destined to meet inevitably.
That sounds like he's talking about people.
Right. Ian says, where one or more people perceive a connection between two events, the key word perhaps being perceive. And I think that is a good point. We have been talking a lot about perception, and as you were saying just a bit ago about this being a bit like a language, it's so true that, like, whether you're paying attention or not, these things are happening, and the question is whether or not you perceive them. And the more that you start to, it would seem, the more you start to perceive them, the more you see them. It's
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
We used to say that. Yeah. I had to kick. Yeah. Like we used to say that. It's like the more you start to follow that, to like really pay attention to that, they do come to you more. They will continue, I think.
Well, and also this idea come to you kind of creates a certain certain visual in my brain of like a magnetism. But I also think of like just perception wise, this idea that all of these myriad of things are happening around us in any given moment, and what aspect of all of this stuff are we seeing? Because of all of this like stimuli that's bubbling up in our body and whatever, how much of it's actually going to make its way to our awareness? It's such a small percentage of everything that's hitting
That's
us
a
at
good way
any
to put
given
that.
moment.
Uh-huh.
And so with that narrowed view of life that we have in our limitations of this mind and body and brain, what of that view are you actually choosing to see? And I think that where
Do you have
people get
blinders
tripped
on?
up
Yeah.
is like thinking they don't have a choice in what they see. Thinking that, no, life is simply happening to me and I'm just looking at the facts and I'm just looking at what's ahead, like what's, right here in front of me, and that's what it is. And again, it's like, okay, but look, so much is bubbling up, but only a little of it can we actually, we only have so much bandwidth, if you will, right? There's our internet connection to ourselves can only handle so much. And it's a superpower, literally, not literally, figuratively. It's figuratively a superpower to guide your focus on what it is that you're seeing. And I think I've said enough on that. I got really excited.
I know,
but I'm
it was adorable. That's adorable.
Passionate about perception.
Well, because you can look at it, a lot of people, and if you want to go through life like that, that's fine. If you just want to be like, this is what it is, black and white, it's this. If you want to have a more of a narrow sort of, I'm having a moment here. I'm like hitting the mic. I'm like, my hair's all over the place. If you want to be a more narrow-minded, okay. No, I just called you narrow-minded. So try to take that out of the equation.
She's not trying to say that you're narrow-minded per se. You're still getting the same. You're still getting your same amount of bandwidth. You're just choosing to use it differently. That's your choice.
Exactly. And I clearly think that there's a way. I think that life is way more magical than that, and it's up to you to allow yourself to see it. And also, I want to clarify something.
Okay.
When I was talking about Bridget, and I was like, oh, I think she likes him more. And then when I said, okay, I don't care anymore. It's not true. I was kidding. I just know she's not going to go there. I think she likes him. But anyway, all right. So I just want to.
Since we brought it up again, I genuinely, in that moment where I was like, okay, define serendipity. We have kind of like 7 topics that we're dancing around with. And there is a bit of like an ADD thing that happens with me. So it's just how my brain is busy. It's not that I got like caught up talking about this person or something.
No, not at all.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure. I was like, that's not what this is. It's not like I can't keep my wits about me or something. Do I think this person is interesting? Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be talking to them if I didn't. I think that they're very similar to me in certain ways, and so that's been fun too. And at times not fun. When somebody's really similar to you, you're kind of like,
Yeah, I know. It was just a little moment. I just wanted to like make sure people didn't think I was being whatever.
Oh, you guys. She's allowed to tease me.
And I do. So
and I'm allowed to not always like it, but that was fine. That was just fine. I'm the youngest of 3. I got teased a lot. When I was 2, my brother and sister sang a song about me and my poopy diaper. And it goes a little something like this. Yucky, 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 yucky. Which, when you think about them being like 4.5, 5, and 7, pretty good song.
I was going to say, and that's kind of a classical, were they like just trying to make it not so scary to you or so gross to you, or were they just making fun
I don't
of you?
think they were giving it that much thought.
They were like 4 and 6.
They were probably, there was probably some song that they heard and they were maybe just putting yucky yucky to that tune, but I was like dancing to it and my mom's like, guys, she doesn't understand, you're making fun of her. And then I was like, what? Wait,
Well,
what?
side note, I'll continue down that road. I'm the oldest of 6. My family is brutal. I mean, you've met some. And one Christmas when Tommy went down there, we all went down there he met my whole family for the first time. And my sister's now husband was there too. And she said to him, because she was kind of in charge of everything, she had set everything up and I was going to help her wrap presents. She's like, now look, I can't protect you. I'm going to be busy. You're going to have to be tough.
To her husband?
Yeah, she said this to her husband. I can't protect you.
Gonna have
She's
to
got
be
other
tough.
stuff. That's about just being around my family. So if that's any indication, we used to like jump out at each other and scare each other. My dad and my mom would do that. And then
Oh, that was
carried on
strictly not allowed in my house.
Oh,
'Cause of my
I'm like
mother.
that. Tommy doesn't like that at all. He's like, no fun with that stuff. No jumping out with water guns. None of that. None of that
Well,
stuff.
with Tommy, I feel like it's more like his nerves, his delicate
Yeah.
nerves. With my
Yeah.
mother, she'd always say, it does something to my heart. Well, come to find out, she was born with issues with 2 valves that had to be fixed. So she was onto something with that. There was something off with her heart. So
Yeah.
off with her heart sounds like off with her head. Again, back to the way that my brain associates.
A to B to Z and back to
So both of us are grabbing our notes. So whoever
Yes.
gets to it first.
Okay, well, you want to hear synchronicity?
Yes.
Synchronicity.
I do.
Okay. The simultaneous, I have no idea how this show is going to turn out. The simultaneous occurrence of events.
Pause. This is amazing. And they love it.
High five.
And I'm having so much fun. Aren't you having so much fun?
Yes.
Okay, good. Continue.
Okay. Sorry. Just did that in front of the mic. Synchronicity, the simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. There's more. I know. Synchronicity is a concept first introduced by analytical psychologist Carl Jung, which I'd like to do a show on him.
I didn't realize he was the first.
I didn't either. I was like, ooh, and you talk about him a lot.
I always think it's like more like Terrence McKenna talking about like ayahuasca or something. Or mushroom journeys. That's when I really started hearing about synchronicity.
Well, he got it. Well, that's what they say. I looked up Carl Jung, and a lot of the New Age people started taking Carl Jung's philosophies and twisting them to, meet their dynamic.
Yeah.
So, look at that. Interesting side note. So let me go back. Synchronicity is a concept first introduced by analytical psychologist Carl Jung, which holds that events are meaningful coincidences if they occur with no causal relationship, yet seem to be meaningfully related.
I think there should be a rule where you're not allowed to define something by borrowing a term of something else that's hard to define. But
Right?
the fact that they literally incorporated coincidence into their definition of synchronicity seems a little unfair.
I remember telling you, I was like, I looked up the words because I really just wanted to see, because I think I'm interchanging these. I'm like, well, no, I think everybody's interchanging them. I don't think anybody really has it down right, actually. But,
I mean, in my brain, have different associations to an extent with the different words. But like I said, with the Terrence McKenna side of it, it probably has to do with where I was at in life and what I was reading at the time that I heard these words and my understanding of the world around me at that time. So I have that association. Also, I've never done ayahuasca.
Me either.
I just think it's interesting to hear about, you know.
Yeah, that's a drug I haven't done. There you go.
I mean, I certainly have respect for it, and I've heard lots of really cool stories from all sorts of people, and I think that it's fascinating. But yeah, it's not something I would do unless I felt really, really, really guided
Called
to do
to
it intentionally, like as a spiritual thing. But I think it is interesting to bring that up in this general conversation, because it seems to be it's a significant part of people's association with synchronicity and all that. Are these psychotropic? How do you say that word?
Psychotropic.
Thank you. Drugs. It's like they open up something. Maybe that lift the veil, the doors of perception. That's the name of the book. That's the name of the book. Anyway, you look like you're ready to read something.
Oh, I don't know. Do you want to read a couple more? Because we got a lot of these. You guys really responded.
Yeah, we've actually knocked a lot of them out.
We still have quite a few, though.
Let me say this. Matt. Hey, that's joincidence with a C. Yes, it is. Coincidence is two random but seemingly related events occurring. Often, though, I think what many of us see as coincidence comes down to perception and awareness more than anything. I feel like we just talked about that. Less coinkydink and more being conscious of a particular thing at a given time. Like the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon, and maybe to a lesser sort of related extent, the Mandela effect. Put that in a bookmark in your brain, people. We will be coming back to one of those.
Yeah.
I also don't rule out that God, nature, time, the universe might be trying to make us aware or conscious of something.
I like that.
Maybe even of our own potential in that moment. I'm thinking of a higher self kind of thing.
Yeah.
I have to go to my other notes page because I just wanted to say about the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. It's where one stumbles upon some obscure piece of information, often an unfamiliar word or name, and soon afterwards encounters the same subject again, often repeatedly. And I feel like that you've described something to me with a name that you kept hearing.
Yeah.
That would kind of fall into potentially that category. But here's also what I want to say. I hate putting things into categories. Because it makes, it's like our brain wants to put things in a box so we can organize our thoughts and to understand the world around us. But that can also be dangerous because if we decide this means A, B, and this means C, then we don't have that like beginner's mind of it anymore, where we're moving around the world with the same wonder as before. And I'm at this point in my life where it's like major priority for me to maintain wonder it's not like I don't decide like, okay, that's what this means. Like, you can't help it is my point. You can't help it. It's how like the brain works. It's how we're meant to work. It's part of what helps keep us safe moving through the world as we learn lessons from things, etc. But it's almost like fighting against that tendency, and to a certain extent, so that we can see the magic that's still all around us, like the childlike wonder. Think about the childlike wonder.
That's what I always say, isn't it?
When you're discovering the world for the first time, how amazing it is.
And it ties into what I always talk about with the whole the gravity of this life, of this world, and the bills that we have to pay, and all these little aspects of life that try to rob you of your wonder, of your magic in life. And so we forget who we really are and where we really come from. And I think that's part of the journey of this life. But it's up to you if you're really going to dive into that, or are you going to be more in the physical realm?
And these moments can be used to remind you of where you are from.
Here's a quote. Here's what Brittany said.
Yes.
We love Brittany.
Hi, Britt.
Dear friend. A special surprise from source. A hint, clue from the all-knowing. That goes along with that. That's what I really think it is. The all-knowing. I think it is a sign.
Special surprise. A hint, a clue.
From all-knowing.
I like all of that.
I said the all-knowing, but you could read Octavio's.
Go for it. Read Octavio.
An illusion, and I'll explain that in a second. Coincidence implies that not everything is connected, but everything is everything. I'm thinking about that one.
Well, maybe it helps to say that part of the beauty of Octavio, somebody we adore, who we originally met in acting class, is he has a beautiful way of putting things in a kind of like riddle form.
Yeah, he's a little abstract.
And I appreciate that. It's a little abstract.
He believes that... Oh, I'm sorry.
Sometimes I think it's less... His approach to definitions is less is more, and I get it.
He believes, though, that everything is connected. You know, that it's all... But it's all our choice. He believes very much like we do.
Yeah.
So, that's what he's getting at.
I'm not sure how to say... This one, I don't have their real name. I just have their handle, Viva Li Fexo.
See, coincidence. We were both looking at that at the same time.
Oh, my God.
Dun, dun, dun.
Why don't you read that one and I'll read Adam's next.
Oh, okay. A coincidence is an encounter where your destination is not clear, but it feels magical. Intuitively, you have trust in the promise of this feeling. A coincidence is a pull towards your life's desire. Typically, it is a recognition of immense tenderness in a kindred spirit.
So they're highlighting like the times you feel it with a person.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that is true, and I can think of those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But I've usually thought of coincidences more of things I've seen in the world around me. But I'm starting to see more and more people associating it with like people too.
That's what's fun to see, like how we all look at this.
Yeah. You guys, we're going to do more of this where we're asking you to weigh in. Okay, Adam says, context may make a difference. I would agree. But maybe regardless of that, a coincidence is a marker that we are on our path, that we're aligned outside of beyond our expectations. Or maybe it's the universe just going, yeah, me too.
I like that, Adam. You want to just go ahead and finish these?
Yeah, go ahead and read Sam.
Okay. An inexplicable aligning of events. But most of the time, I feel like events that seem like a coincidence aren't that at all. I think it's an I'm on the right path sort of feeling. I agree.
I definitely feel that way.
To me, it's always validated something. It's always like this magical moment where you're just like, wow, like I can't deny it.
And even if being on the right path is you embodying your higher self.
Yeah.
Even if it has less to do with like an actual sequence of events that's unfolding and more of like being in your truth.
I think the whole point of this life is for us to align with our true selves, and not everybody does it. You know, I think to try and fight through that noise of what's being thrown at us and to be able to tune in again to that little voice, but not everybody chooses to do that. It kind of blows me away.
And to word it another way, or maybe this is just focusing on a different aspect, but like, and we've said this before, it shocks us how many people aren't interested in growing in this life. They're not actually trying to be the best versions of themselves. And that just, I'm a seeker. Like, I can't help it. Like, I want to improve and grow. And I get that not everybody's into that, but it still surprises me. It does.
Yeah.
Like, I can't help it.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. You don't have to, but gosh, it's so much more fun, you guys.
Jenna says, having something unexpectedly feel like a correlation or connection. I love that, the simplicity of that one. And she said a lot in few words. Really the only thing left is Gary.
And Tommy.
Yes, read Tommy.
He says a couple things. When the stars align, there are good and bad coincidences. Sometimes it's when it's meant to be, and sometimes it's meant not to be. Rejection can be heaven's protection. That's what he said. And then he said,
cute.
isn't it right? He really means this. He said, when things come easy, then you should be doing what you're doing. Meaning, when you are doing things that you should be doing, you will, like, it just seems like all of a sudden you're going to find an amp. He gave me an example of a friend of his when they had just started this band and they got signed to a record deal and all this stuff. And he was looking around and he found this amp. His friend found this amp that he was always looking for in this little like secondhand shop. And he was just like, he just felt, it just solidified for some reason to them, we're doing what we're supposed to do. You know, like, and they keep finding those things. Yeah.
I love that. It reminds me of what keeps happening to me and my neighbor that share the patio together. There's been like 3 times where one of us will be like, she was like, I really want like a black trunk that I can store all of my gardening stuff in. Within 2 weeks, there's one sitting right outside the dumpster of the next door neighbor. I was like, there's your trunk. And then I was really done with the little cart or the little container I had for my stuff. And I was like, I want like a cart, something I can store dirt in and like the pots for my plants, etc. Sure enough, next to the dumpster, another dumpster. This just sounds like it's all dumpster related, but people are getting rid of things that I've wanted and then they're putting them right there where I can find them. A fiddly fig. I've been wanting a fiddly fig for a very long time, but was not a fan of the price tag. Someone abandoned one by the dumpster. And I was like, I will take you. Thank you. Come to me, baby. I will bring you back to life. She's given me 3 new leaves thus far, so we'll see how that goes.
There's tons of those moments. I can't even remember them. They just happen so much. Or some of them are really big, significant ones that I'm not really going to get into because it's too much of a story. But I mean, I was telling you about one earlier. I mean, so to me, you can't deny when something like that happens.
Yeah.
It's just...
I had when I was going up to... I was on my way to the airport to... my mom had just had the heart surgery I had referenced, the valves getting fixed about 1.5 years ago or so. So I was catching my Uber, and I noticed that the car that, I get in, I look, the license plate of the car that's sitting in front has 222 in it. Fast forward to, I don't know, later on in the airplane, I'm pretty sure it was like a phone or an iPad or something, but then again, it was the number 222. And then there was something else that happened once I landed in Seattle where it was 222 again. And I just knew, I had this peace. I was like, Mom's going to be fine. And I'm not saying that my brain is like, oh, 222 means it's not, you can't simplify it like that. It's not black and white like that. It's like, you have to remember that seeing these number sequences come with a feeling that's really hard to put into words. And there's something about that feeling of peace. And then the fact that it's like it's presenting itself to me. It's not just like, I don't know. It gave me, I knew she was going to be okay. I just knew it. And she was.
Yeah. I've had moments like that. Really.
My cat. It's fine.
Well, the whole time you're going to hear when you get my audio, there's like just cars zooming by every time and it was so funny because we mentioned that at the beginning. So check to see if you hear the loud zoom at every point that we make. It's kind of funny to me. Side note.
My cat likes to do this thing. I have to put bowls of water around the house because otherwise he yells at me. He's in charge. Kidding. But he moves them. They can't just sit in one spot. Like he grabs his pot and he moves it 3 feet over this way. That's what you're hearing scrape.
I did hear that.
Scrape. That's the cat moving his water bowl.
Quarantine, you guys. We're not in the studio. It's well, I am, but still.
I am in my living room.
You still hear things. What else? What else we got?
I got Gary.
All right, read Gary's.
Gary starts with, "This may or may not make sense." And isn't that how we so often feel? This may or may not make sense, but we're going to do our best. "I'm not a believer in fate. To me, relying on fate to live life is to abdicate living a life of choice and purpose. Perhaps that could be called free will, I'm not sure. Though I do think there is a difference between relying on fate, is that faith? Versus having the moment of, that was his aside, not mine, versus having that moment of awareness when past moments in life align and you discover deeper meaning. That to me is not fate, but a desire for clarity and growth." Did you have anything you want to say about that?
No, I'm listening.
Okay. Because I definitely, as we said earlier, believe in free will.
Yeah,
as does Marshelle. And then he goes on to say, "I'm not a religious person, but I am spiritual. Religion to me dictates belief patterns, whereas spirituality connects directly with the universe of energy and unknown. I fully accept that there is more out of the realm of current knowledge and awareness, but I do have a difficult time believing there is a form with ability to guide my life." I respect that. I do accept that there's more out of the realm of my current knowledge and awareness, but I do believe that there is a form with ability to guide my life personally. But
me too.
And then he says, "As a romantic person, I look for serendipity and coincidence and even synchronicity in life. I believe in the fundamental energy of love and attraction in the universe. But also, in most terms, I believe we see what we set our attention to like an antenna. If we choose to see love, we can see it everywhere. If we choose something else, then that is our spectrum of awareness." I really appreciate him saying that because that ties in really well to all of the perspective stuff we've been talking about, for sure. And I like that he uses the analogy of an antenna. That's really, I use the analogy of like internet bandwidth, but I think antenna is a really good one. And he says, and in broad terms, I think everything you're talking about, déjà vu, serendipity, synchronicity, fate, free will, coincidence, takes awareness and attention. It takes a willingness to engage with the unknown and trust in things outside of our view. Not give up the need to take the next step, but believe in our ability to learn, accept, and grow. And then I had already read how he ended it, so I'm not going to read, but it's just that with all that said, déjà vu freaks me the F out.
Freaks me out. Yeah, but that's actually a really nice place to end it. Not give up the need to take the next step, but believe in our ability to learn, accept, and grow. That's nice.
Yeah. And it does. It takes awareness and attention. And it makes sense to me that some people just aren't going to see the synchronicities that are happening around them because they're not tuned to it. And, like, you can't convince them, I guess. No. Like, as much as I wish I could.
So what is it I'm always saying that you tease me about? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can't. So, you know, on that note, it's up to you guys. But I do think it's a language. I think it's a sign you're on your right path. I think it's fun. I think it makes you feel the magic of life and that we're not alone, because you're not alone. But it's up to you to allow yourself to feel the beauty in this world and how there is so much more than what we can see. And if things keep happening, that itself is a little bit of a scientific proof that there's something else out there. There's something going on. And if you can dive into that, if you can let yourself go down that path, it's a whole new world. But it's up to you.
And I also think you can pay attention to experiences without coming to conclusions of what they mean. If that's too much for you, to say, okay, because I'm feeling these things or seeing these things or experiencing these things, therefore it means this. Give yourself a break from deciding what it means or how it functions or why it is. Just enjoy the bliss and the wonder of the moments. Just start there. Just start to see how much more they'll show up for you.
Yeah, just start there.
Baby steps. Baby steps. We're not asking you to, like, completely adopt our philosophies. No. Although, I mean,
you could.
We could.
It might be a little
I think
more
we're
fun.
onto something.
I think we know a thing or two. On that note.
Now, wait. Do we want to, for those of you who are interested in shifting gears, like, look, if you want to stop listening now, I understand. But Marshelle and I discussed the possibility of creating an accountability for ourselves.
Oh, that's right.
By calling out the topic of healthy eating and exercise at the end of this episode. We knew that not everybody would necessarily want to listen, but if you do,
if you all want to be part of it, let's hold ourselves accountable. Tell each other, I exercised today. Like, we can put it on Instagram. Okay, I did it. I did my whatever it is.
Because quarantine's throwing us off, people. Quarantine has been, I definitely don't feel my best right now. You know? I feel just, I don't like the way my body is right now. And I'm not saying, like, oh, I have negative body image. I'm just, my body has changed since quarantine started. I'm just looking at it and being like, oh, I can do better. So this is about doing better for myself.
Yeah, I've been exercising, but not as, and I've been eating healthy, but I definitely just want to make it a lifestyle. That's what it is. Because used to, I would always lose weight for a role. I don't want to do that anymore, that yo-yoing and extreme sort of. I just want to be fit, you know, and be in a good place. Right.
I've been exercising, and I've actually have been eating pretty good meals that I've cooked. I had a period of time there when my cat was really sick that I was relying on, like, way more food deliveries, and I can't tell you the last time I actually had food delivered. So I'm past that, but I think I need to take it a whole nother step towards intention to really make it a plan that's like sustainable as a lifestyle, not just like you were saying, something that I visit and then leave and visit again.
I want to be healthy. I just want to be healthy. I want to change it.
Yeah, I want to feel.
I don't want any more of this yo-yo stuff. So, okay, guys, let's do that.
I want to feel good.
Whoever wants to join in, let's do it.
All right, there you go.
So, thanks for coming back. We'll be here next Wednesday. Like, subscribe, share, tell people about us. What else?
I mean, I think the interaction from this episode was super satisfying, and we'd like to do more of this in the future. So thank you, everyone who gave us your thoughts on coincidence. Keep an eye out for more opportunities to engage with us in this way and have us include you in a future episode. All right. And if you think of anything on your own, email us at yeahsortakinda@gmail.com. I'm Bridget.
I'm Marshelle.
This is Yeah, Sorta Kinda.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.